Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 11. Another 7 curious, interesting things I saw last week. As ever, let's crack on. But give it a like, give it a subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. The first thing has some flashing lights, so you have been warned. Look away now if you are sensitive. First one is a really good idea. This is actually from developer Dvorak Dwarf. It's tough to say. And this is how to get infinite storage using YouTube. So what you do here is you take your file, you turn it into binary data, ones and zeros, and you turn the ones into black, the zeros into white, or whatever you want to do. And what you then do is you then just keep streaming those ones and zeros across a page till you run out of space. You turn it into a new frame. Put those frames end to end to end, you get a video of all of your data and you upload it to YouTube, set it to private. You've now got your own infinite private file storage on YouTube and they pay for all your storage. Obviously this is going to be a little bit slow to decode and probably to encode as well, but it's an interesting idea. It's very similar to how computers obviously used to load all their data back in the 80s with cassette tapes, and when you used to hear the ones and zeros, that was all that noise and that static you heard. It's pretty much what you've got on here. So really interesting, like that. This is a ChatGPT. There's always one every week at the moment, it seems, and Daniel Tate has asked it to create something similar to Sudoku, and but a little bit different. So, and that's exactly what it's done. So the chat that actually Daniel had is actually on the website. So if you go to the website there, have a look at the About section, you can see all the requests that were actually asked of it, or at least the main ones. And what he really asked for was a puzzle, a bit like Sudoku, but not quite. And it's created SUMPLETE. So SUMPLETE is where you have to click on the numbers that you have to subtract to make each line add up to the numbers at the right and at the bottom. Sounds a little bit complicated. It isn't really that complicated. It's fun to play. But what it did is not only came up with the concept of the puzzle itself, it also wrote the code, and therefore Daniel had another chat, a couple of hours, and then came up with some extra features and all that sort of stuff, some design, and made it red and it green and all those sorts of things as well. So really, really interesting and powerful. You don't really see puzzles being invented that often. Apparently this is unique, this puzzle, but if it's not, please let Daniel know. He is interested. Spotify, there was an event this week. Spotify Clips was announced, and Spotify Clips is trying to be a bit more like TikTok, as a lot of people are these days. So there's a great phrase I heard the other day, which is instead of social media, what we're aiming for at the moment is content media, and this is obviously the same play as that. So what are Spotify doing is they are giving artists pages which they can create video clips no more than 30 seconds, and that allows them to obviously reach their audiences, but also audiences using a scrolling feed to discover new music. There's also a countdown feature for artists, obviously, as the name implies, to count down to big things like albums and releases and that sort of thing. Very interesting. This is Wonder Studio, blew my mind. So this is a web-based application, and it allows you to do all of the visual effects that a normal sort of CGI studio would do for you, but it does it in the browser. So you upload your footage, it motion captures the humans within the footage, so it does all of the sort of bones linking to each other and the inverse kinematics and all that good stuff, and you then drag and drop on a CGI character. It will do the lighting for you, it can compose the scene for you, it even rubs out the original human that you would actually do the motion capture from. Very similar to what you're seeing here. So there you go. So that's really, really interesting. This is the sort of stuff that would have cost you hundreds and hundreds of £1,000s even 5 years ago. So now it's available in your browser. So definitely check it out. It is very impressive. WhatsApp, and to that matter Signal, and any sort of messaging app that is encrypted is on a bit of a warpath with the UK online safety bill at the moment. So there is a bit of a stalemate here, because the online safety bill says that every message that goes through any social media platform in the UK has to be checked for child sexual abuse material. Of course it does. However, these apps are encrypted end to end, so you can't check them because they're encrypted. So WhatsApp are pretty much saying, well, you're only 2%, or the UK is only 2% of our audience, so we'd much rather just walk away from the UK rather than turn off encryption, because if we turn off it for the UK, we have to turn it off for everybody in the world, and that's pretty much what our app does, so we're not going to do it. So that is something that's rumbling on at the moment. As I say, also affects all other messaging apps that are encrypted, such as Signal. So watch that one, and that's going to be an interesting one. This is Fruit fly larva's brain, not actually a fruit fly, this is the larva, which is a simpler brain than the adult fruit fly. This has 3,016 neurons in it, 58,000 neural connections, and they've finally, after 12 years, been fully mapped, which is what you're seeing here. Obviously this is a representation. It's about the size of a sort of a, I don't know, a poppy seed, so it's a pretty small thing. But that's basically what they've done. They've mapped every single connection in there. There's a couple of things that are really interesting in this one. The main thing is that when they actually retrospectively looked at things like neural networks, computer neural networks, they were very, very similar. So they say now we have mapped a full brain. It's startling just how similar they are. Yeah, and also why a fruit fly brain or a larvae brain? Well, this is the kind of brain that is actually mappable into a human brain. Previously, they've looked at worm brains, which weren't really that useful. The fruit fly actually is. Humans have 86 billion neurons, so we're way, way away from actually looking at a human brain. And finally, it was March the 10th, which is Mario Day, obviously Mar 10, Mario. And lots of things, lots of deals, lots of interesting partnerships. Always interested in really funky partnerships, and Red Wing Shoes won the year this year with their Mario shoes. So if you're a massive Super Mario fan, it's obviously all in to coincide with the movie. But if you're a Mario fan, then you can get some funky shoes. Really love that. That's a really nice partnership. I did actually miss one at Christmas, which was basically HelloFresh and Elf. That was a brilliant partnership. So look that one up as well if you're an Elf fan, which is, by the way, the best Christmas movie ever. Other than that, we are done. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a share, give it a like, and I will see you next week.